Okay, so I want to talk about the sun, moon, and rising, okay? Because I have a friend, and I was like telling them, like inquiring about their zodiac, and they were like telling me that they're Leo, and I was like, I really want to know your moon, and uh, kind of feel like they're like, what are you talking about? And I understand because I feel like a lot of astrology explanations kind of make this more confusing, not less. Like most definitions I see say like your sun's your ego, your moon's your emotion, is your mass, and that's technically true. But that also doesn't really tell you what that means. It doesn't tell you why you have three different signs, and it doesn't tell you how to even use this information. So today I'm going to break this down the way I wish someone had explained to me when I first started learning about this stuff, using the actual seasonal methodology, using concrete examples, and I feel like making it make sense. Because here's the thing: your sun, your moon, and your rising aren't just three random data points. They're three different questions your chart is answering about how you move through the world. And once you understand what those questions are, I feel like everything clicks into place. So let's go. Okay. First, why do we even need three signs? Why isn't one enough? And to be real with you, there's actually more than three signs, but we're just going to talk about three signs for now. So if you are even feeling like, why do we even need three signs? I'm sorry to tell you, there's baby girl, there's a lot more to talk about than just three signs. But I think the answer is so much simpler than we all may think. Why do we need three signs or even more? Because we're a complex organism moving through complex situations. We're not one thing, we're a system. We have multiple modes. We adapt to different contexts. Even if you may feel like you don't have multiple modes, you darn well know about 80 different people who definitely act like they got 18 people up inside of them. But we show up differently in different environments. And what the three signs tracks for the sun, it is our easiest to find out because it goes by every 28 days. And it's where you're going, your direction, your identity over time, what you're becoming. And your moon is how you regulate. It's your nervous system, your emotional survival strategy, what you need to feel safe. And your rising is how you enter. It's your interface, your first response, how you meet the world before you even have time to think about it. And this isn't mystical. This is just how humans work. Like, think about yourself right now. You have a long term direction you're moving toward. That's the sun. You have an emotional regulation system that kicks in when you're stressed. That's the moon. And you have a default way to you present yourself when you walk into a new room. That's your rising. All three of those things are happening simultaneously. All three are real, and none of them cancel each other out. The zodiac just gives you language for them. So before we get into sun, moon, and rising individually, we need to make sure we're on the same page about what the zodiac actually is. Because if you think the zodiac is a random personality labels, this isn't going to make sense. But if you understand that the zodiac is a map of seasonal survival strategies, everything I'm about to tell you, I think will immediately click. So quick reminder. The zodiac tracks the sun's movement throughout the years. Aries is late March, early April. First off, spring begins. We got Cancer, which is our late June, late June, early July, peak summer, maximum light. Then our Libra season is late September, early October. This is when autumn begins. This is our balance point. And Capricorn is like our late December, early January. Deep winter, shortest days. And all the other signs fall in between those cardinal points. Each sign corresponds to a specific climate, a specific relationship to light, heat, scarcity, and abundance, a specific survival strategy that makes sense for that time of year. That's the metaphor. It's ecology, you can never speak in the morning or every day. But when you're born, you're entering the world through one of those climates, right? And your nervous system, it learns how to develop in those specific conditions. Your body gets to learn this is what the world is like, and this is how I need to operate to survive here. And that imprint, it doesn't go away. Even if you move to a different climate, even if you're not consciously aware of it, it's in your system. That's what your natal chart is tracking. Now let's talk about what the sun, moon, and rising are actually measuring. So the sun, your direction. Your sun sign is a zodiac sign the sun was in when you were born. The sun is your orientation point, not your personality, not your identity right now, but the direction you're moving toward over the course of your life. So here's my example. You're on a journey. You're moving through life, through time, through seasons, and your sun is the compass direction you're walking. It's what you're becoming. It's what you're building towards. So if someone inquires like, yo, what's your sign? And you say, for example, I'm a Capricorn. What you're really saying is that I'm moving through life in a Capricorn direction. I'm orienting myself towards Capricorn themes, and I'm becoming more Capricorn over time. And those themes aren't random, they're seasonally. So let's keep using Capricorn as an example, okay, right? So let's say you're a Capricorn sun. That means the sun was in Capricorn when you were born, which basically means you were born in either late December or early January, which is deep winter. And the survival strategy of deep winter is endurance, structure, discipline, long-term planning. Sounds a lot like the traits we associate with Capricorn, right? Because when it's coldest and darkest and resources are most scarce, you can't afford to be impulsive. You can't afford to waste energy. You have to ration and maintain. You have to think in terms of what the heck will keep me alive until spring. That's it. That's the climate Capricorn suns were born into. That's the orientation your body learned first. And as you grow up and as you move through life, you keep orienting back towards that strategy, not because you're stuck there, not because you can't learn other strategies, but because that's your home base. That's what feels right to you at a deep nervous system level. So if you're a Capricorn sun, you're mainly probably moving through life inquiring what's sustainable, what's structured, and what long term can I actually rely on? And you become more Capricorn as you age, more disciplined, more strategic, more comfortable with restraint. That's the sun. That's the direction you're walking. But let's kind of talk about what the sun is not. It's most likely not who you are right now. Sorry to let you know, especially if you're young, more your moon, your nervous system. We'll get into that. Especially if you're young, and also even if you're not aged young, I guess, whatever you want to say, especially if you're still figuring yourself out, because your sun is where you're going. You might not be there yet. You might be resisting it. You might be learning early strategies first. In fact, you may not even fully embody your sun sign until you're in your 30s, 40s, and 50s. And that's normal. So, like, if you're a 22-year-old Capricorn sun, you might not feel Capricorn yet. You might feel messy. You might feel like you're still figuring out discipline and structure. That doesn't mean your chart is wrong. It means you're still walking toward Capricorn and you're still becoming it. Because I kind of see your sun as your long game. The sun matters, and we care about the direction because direction tells you what you're optimizing for. It tells you what will feel meaningful to you over time, what will feel like growth, what will feel like you're on the right path. Because if you're a Capricorn sun and you build a life with zero structure and zero discipline, you're probably going to feel lost, not because structure is objectively good, but because your system is oriented towards structure. That's your compass. And if you're an Aries sun and you build a life where you never get to initiate anything, where you're always waiting for permission, where maybe you're never first, you're going to feel stuck because your system is oriented towards initiation, and that's your direction. Your sun tells you what will feel like home over the long term, not what's going to feel comfortable tomorrow or what will feel easy right now, but what will feel right when you look back at your life and you inquire, did I move in the direction that was true for me? That's the sun. Now let's talk about the moon. Because if your sun is your direction, what the heck is the moon? The moon is your nervous system's regulation strategy. It's how you process stress, how you self-soothe, how you metabolize emotional intensity, what you need to feel safe when everything's overwhelming. And here's the key thing. So the moon, it operates unconsciously. You don't choose your moon strategy. You don't think about it. It just happens. When you're upset, when you're dysregulated, when you're triggered, your moon just kicks in automatically. Kind of like, you know how when you're really stressed, right? And you got something you do, something that's like your thing. Some people, they may call their best friend. They may go for a run. May need to clean the whole house. Some people may need to watch some TV and zone out. Some people have to be alone. Some people need to be around other people. That's the moon. That's your regulation system. And it's shaped by the season you were born into because seasons teach us different lessons about safety. Okay? So let's give you another example. Let's say you're a Cancer moon, right? If you're a Cancer moon, that means the moon was basically in Cancer when you were born. Now, Cancer, the seasonal timing is early summer, late June, early July. And in early summer, maximum vulnerability is happening. Everything that broke through the ground in spring, Aries, all that new growth is now fully exposed. We got young plants, new shoots, maximum visibility to predators, peak heat, peak need for water. And so Cancer survival strategy becomes to create containers. Think about the shell for the egg. Even think about the mama being on top of the egg. It protects. It's that shell, it's the container, it's protecting what's vulnerable, it's maintaining safe conditions because you can't leave new growth in the open and hope it survives. If you have a baby, you can't just like leave the baby outside and just hope it lives. No, we have to put it in a wrap. We have to hold the baby near, like, even when you think about it, when the baby comes out of the person's vagina, the mom or the parent, the whoever the parental figure is, the guiding figure, the one to care for that baby, you're almost still kind of being like that container for the child because you're the older person who's protecting the new growth, the new life in the world. You can't just throw it out and hope it survives. You have to nurture it. You have to create that shelter. You have to monitor conditions constantly. And that's Cancer. That's the strategy. So if you have a Cancer moon, your emotional regulation system is built around I need to know things are safe. I need to protect what's vulnerable. I need emotional warmth and security. And when you're stressed, what typically happens is you retreat and you create boundaries and you're going to check on people you care about and need to know everyone's okay. Not because you're codependent or clingy, but because your nervous system literally doesn't calm down for most Cancer moons until you've confirmed that the people and the things you care about are protected. That's your moon doing its job. And now, see, let's talk about what the moon is not. The moon is not your full emotional range. Like having a Cancer moon doesn't mean you're always emotional. It doesn't mean you cry all the time. It doesn't mean you're too sensitive. It means that when you're dysregulated, when something's wrong, when you're stressed, when you're triggered, your system probably regulates through Cancer strategies. But the rest of the time, you're probably totally fine. You might be funny and social and confident and whatever else. And like you're rising. If you're a Leo rising, that's probably going to be what you're going to be wanting to present to people more is to be funny and confident and all that stuff. But your moon is your stress response. It's not your entire personality. And here's the other thing the moon is not. It's not chosen. Because you don't get to pick your moon. You don't get to decide how your nervous system regulates. It just does what it does. And sometimes your moon is really inconvenient. Sometimes it doesn't match your sun. Sometimes it doesn't match what you want to be doing. Like maybe you're a Capricorn sun and trying to build structure and be disciplined and move towards long-term goals. But maybe you have a Gemini moon. So when you're stressed, your nervous system wants to move and talk and circulate and process through conversation, not through discipline. And that could be frustrating, right? And this goes back to what I said about we're just complex organisms, like just moving in complex ways. Because your sun, which is your direction, and your regulation, which is your moon, are probably asking for different things if you're a Capricorn sun and a Gemini moon. But that's real, right? That's how humans work. We're not simple. We're not one thing. Your moon is what it is, and your job is to learn how to work with it. Because the moon matters because we can't just override our nervous system. We can't just decide, nope, I'm not going to regulate this way anymore. You can't willpower your way out of your moon or the way your nervous system reacts when you're stressed. Like, if you have a Cancer moon and you're stressed, you need emotional connection to calm down. You can try to tough it out alone and not be so sensitive, but your system isn't going to cooperate. And you're probably just going to stay dysregulated. Your moon tells you what you actually need, not what you think you should need. And once you know that, once you stop fighting it, I think everything becomes easier. Like, okay, so let's go back to Cancer. If I have a Cancer moon and maybe like when I'm stressed, I need to check in with people I care about. I need to know they're okay. I need that warmth, reassurance. And for a long time, maybe that person who has that Cancer moon thinks that that's weak. Maybe they should just regulate alone and be able to. But that's not how your system's going to work. So when you're dysregulated, don't fight it. Just do the thing that actually works. Reach out if it works for you. Reconnect, create safety, and then calm down, and then you can move forward because that's what the moon gives you. It tells you how to take care of yourself in a way that actually works. And now let's talk about what our rising is. So, if the sun is your direction and the moon is your regulation, your rising is how you enter. It's your instinctive first response to new situations, how you present yourself before you even have time to think about it, how you meet the world. And here's the thing that makes rising different from your sun and your moon. It's immediate. Rising is immediate. It's not long term like the sun, hidden like the moon. It's the first thing people see when they meet you. It's the first thing you do when you walk into a room, your interface, your front door, your survival presentation. So here's where rising gets a little more technical. But please stay with me because this actually makes it make more sense, not less sense. So your rising sign, which is also called your ascendant, is a zodiac sign that was on the eastern horizon at the exact moment you were born. And the eastern horizon is where the sun rises. It's that point where the day begins, the threshold between night and day. So your rising is literally the climate that was entering as you entered. Yeah, did I say that right? Your rising is literally the climate that was entering as you entered. It's the first seasonal energy you encountered, the first survival strategy your body registers, the first question the world inquired from you. How the heck are you going to survive here? And that shapes how you instinctively respond to new situations for the rest of your life. So let's use an example and talk about how the rising works seasonally. Let's say you are in Aries rising, which means the Aries was on the eastern horizon when you were born. Now, Aries is late March, early April, right? First off, spring beginning. And that survival strategy for Aries is to move fast, break through, don't wait for perfect conditions. So if you have an Aries rising, that's how you enter situations. When you first walk into a room, you don't wait to be invited. You don't hang back or assess the vibe first. You just go and introduce yourself and start talking and take up space. Not because you're arrogant or trying to dominate, but because your system learned if I don't move first, I might lose my chance. Similar to the way a plant has to go ahead and do what it got to do, because if it doesn't, it may never even get to grow. Because another plant that is not going to think about it, it's just going to do it. Not that plants have thoughts, but I hope you get where I'm going with this. But the rising is doing its job in that way. And here's what makes it interesting. Your rising most likely won't be matching your sun or your moon. So another example, let's say you're a Capricorn sun moving towards discipline and structure, like we talked about earlier, right? With the Cancer moon, like we talked about earlier, meaning emotional safety to regulate. And you're an Aries rising, entering every situation with speed and force. So what happens is you enter situations like Aries, fast, bold, direct. But then your moon kicks in and is like, wait, is everyone okay? Did I come on too strong? And your sun could be like, all right, okay, but how do I turn this into something sustainable long term? All three are simultaneously operating. All three are real. None of them cancel each other out. And that's what makes you complex, and that's what makes you human. But what the rising is not, I'm going to stop saying this too, because I used to say it before. I used to think it was a mask. Like a lot of times people will say your rising is your mask, or your rising is your fake you, or your rising is how you pretend to be. And I think that's wrong, because your rising is real. It's not performance or something you put on. It's your actual instinctive response to the world. Like if you have Cancer rising, you instinctively create boundaries and protect yourself, and you approach new situations cautiously. That's not fake or a mask. That's how your nervous system actually works. The reason people think it is a mask is because rising is the first thing people see. So they assume that's not the real you. But it is the real you. It's just the entry point version of you. Like when you meet someone new, you don't immediately show them your moon, unless you're me and Pisces Sun and Moon. You don't immediately share your deepest regulation strategies. That comes later. That comes when you feel safe more. But your rising is there from the first second. It's how you shake hands, how you make eye contact, how you navigate the first 5 minutes of a conversation. It's real. It's just first. And see, the rising matters because it tells you how you're being perceived. Kind of like when they say, like, when you go into an interview, the person who's interviewing you knows whether they want to hire you on spot. And I kind of that's BS a little bit, because what's the credibility of the interviewer? Anyway, going along, that I would be digressing if I go into that. But you're rising, like I said, it told you how you're being perceived. And that's not shallow or vain. I think that's just useful information. Like if you're Scorpio rising, people are going to read you as intense and guarded, as maybe a little intimidating. Even if you're actually warm and funny and goofy inside, that's not their fault. That's not you being misunderstood. That's just what a Scorpio rising does. It creates boundaries and it withholds access and tests people before letting them in. So if you know that, you can work with it. You can be like, all right, people are going to read me as more intense than I actually feel. So I need to soften actively my entry if I want to make people comfortable. Then that's if you want to. Maybe you don't want to make people comfortable. My BFF is she Scorpio rising, she don't care. Maybe you like that your rising creates natural boundaries. Maybe you want people to approach you carefully. So you gotta meet the real you. Either way, knowing you're rising gives you information about your own interface. It tells you what signal you're sending before you said a word. And once you know that, you can decide what to do with it. All right, so now let's talk about all three pieces and about how they actually interact, because this is where I think it gets interesting. So let's look at the framework. The rising is how you enter, the moon's how you regulate, the sun is where you're going. And we're gonna think about it like a sequence. You walk into a situation, your rising kicks in first. That's your instinctive response, your entry point. Then something happens that triggers stress or emotion. So your moon kicks in. That's your regulation system. And then over time, you orient yourself, remembering your direction, and your sun kicks in. That's what you're building towards. All three are happening, but they're just happening at different speeds and different layers. Now, let's make this a little bit more concrete. Let's talk about like walking to a party, right? So imagine you're walking to a party or event, gathering, group, whatever, where you don't know anyone. So your rising is how you enter. If you have an Aries rising, you'll probably walk in confident, introduce yourself to the first person you see, start you a conversation immediately. If you have a Cancer rising, you'll probably scan the room first. Look for someone who will feel safe to you. Maybe hang out by that food table until someone comes and approaches you. If you have a Libra rising, you'll probably smile, make eye contact, look for a group that seems welcoming, and position yourself to be included in a conversation. Now let's get to your moon, how you regulate stress. Let's say something triggers you. Let's say someone says something that triggers you. Maybe they make a joke that lands wrong. Maybe the room gets just a little too loud. Maybe you start feeling out of place. If you have a Cancer moon, you'll probably need to check in with someone you trust, text your best friend, looking somewhere for emotional reassurance. An Aquarius moon would probably detach, step back, observe the situation intellectually instead of actually feeling into it. And a Leo moon would probably double down on being more fun and visible and perform through the discomfort until it passes. Now let's talk about your sun, what you're building over time. So like after the party, gathering wherever you're at, you may reflect on that experience and think about what did you take from it and what are you moving toward. If you have a Capricorn sun, you'll probably think about whether this gathering had any long-term useful connections. Will you even see these people again? Is this even sustainable? A Sagittarius sun will probably think about what you learned. What new perspective did you hear? What expanded your worldview? And the Cancer sun will probably think about whether you felt emotionally safe. Did you connect? Did you find your people in that group or gathering, party, whatever? And you see, all three layers are operating, all three matter. Sometimes all three are in the same element or are in compatible seasons. So, like maybe you're an Aries sun, Leo moon, Sagittarius rising, which would be Aries sun would be early spring, Leo moon would be midsummer, and Sagittarius rising would be late autumn. All three of those are fire signs, right? Aries, Leo, okay. Aries, Leo, yeah. All three are fire signs, and all three are also they're cardinal, fixed, and mutable momentum. So all three want to move. And when that happens, you feel coherent. You feel like all parts of you are pulling in the same direction. And see, that's harmony. That's your signs being in a compatible season. And it doesn't mean you're better than anyone else. It just means your system doesn't have as much internal friction. Then let's talk about when your sun rising and moon are in conflict. Because sometimes they are in completely different seasons. Like maybe your Capricorn sun, Gemini moon, Leo rising, which would be deep winter, late spring, peak summer. So your sun wants structure, Capricorn sun, your moon wants circulation, Gemini moon, and your rising wants visibility, Leo rising. And those things don't always agree. Like your sun is trying to build something sustainable, but your moon needs to move and talk and process through conversation. And your rising is presenting you as confident and radiant when you're actually trying to focus on discipline. That's friction. And friction isn't bad, friction is just complexity. It means you have to learn how to navigate multiple strategies at once, and you can't just default to one approach. And honestly, I think that friction makes you more interesting and more adaptable and more human. People who have harmonious charts, I think, can get stuck in one mood or mold. But people with friction, I feel like, can learn more of a range. So I want to talk about some common confusions and kind of how to clear them up. The first one is not relating to your sun sign, which is super common. A lot of people will feel like, I'm a Virgo, but I'm not organized at all. But this is why this happens, because your sun is where you're going, not where you are right now. And I do think that we attribute way too much sun signs to also kids. My daughter's Libra rising, and I mean Libra sun, and she's a Cancer moon, Cancer rising. And I look to more to think about her moon sign at this point, because your sun is where you're going, not where you are right now. If you're 20 years old, you might not be embodying your sun yet. You might still be learning other strategies. You might be operating more from your moon or your rising. And this doesn't mean your chart is wrong. It means you're still in process. Also, check your moon and rising, because maybe if you have a Gemini moon and a Sagittarius rising, those energies are going to be more visible day to day than your Virgo sun, because your sun is your long-term game and you need to give it time. And then if you feel like I relate more to my rising than my sun, I think that also makes sense, because your rising is what you do. Your sun is what you're becoming. So of course your rising may feel more familiar because you're living it every day. That doesn't mean your sun doesn't matter. It just means that you're still walking towards it. If you feel like your moon doesn't make sense, Like I'm a Pisces moon, I feel emotional, but maybe you're a Pisces moon, but you're not emotional. But here's the thing, your moon isn't about how you feel, it's more so about how you regulate when you feel. And having a Pisces moon, I cannot speak to this. It doesn't mean you don't cry all the time. It means that when you're dysregulated, your system wants to dissolve boundaries and escape and merge and not hold form too tightly. Maybe you regulate through art, music, fantasy, spirituality, through disassociation even. That's still Pisces moon. That's still your regulation system. It just may not look the way you expect it. And maybe you're someone who feels like I have 3 different signs and I feel like 3 different people. That would actually make a lot of sense because you're operating with 3 different seasonal strategies. And that's not a problem. That's just how it works. You're not supposed to be one simple thing, y'all. You're supposed to be complex. Your job is to learn how to integrate all 3, how to let your rising do its job at the front door, how to honor your moon when you need to regulate, how to keep moving towards your sun even when the 2 are pulling you in different directions. That's the work. That's what makes you whole. Okay, so now I hope you understand sun, moon, and rising. Maybe knowing where they are, how they work, and why they matter. So what do you do with this? Step 1, I think, know your big 3. If you don't know your sun, moon, and rising yet, go figure it out. You do need your exact birth time for rising, but once you have it, you have the 3 core pieces of your chart. Step 2, understand each one seasonally. I wouldn't just be memorizing keywords, understand the season behind each sign. What time of year is your sign? What survival strategies does that season teach? What time of year is your moon? What does that season say about safety and regulation? What time of year is your rising? What does that season do at the entry point? Ground each one in climate, not personality traits. In step 3, notice where they agree and where they are in conflict. Are all 3 of them in harmony, or do they pull in different directions? If they're in harmony, lean into that and trust that coherence. And if they're in conflict, learn to work with the friction. Let each one do its job without trying to force all of them to match. Because you don't need to be simple, you need to be functional. And the 4th step would be to use them in real time. When you're walking into a new situation, notice your rising and what is your instinctive first move. When you're stressed or triggered, notice your moon. And what does your system actually need to calm down? And when you're making long term choices, notice your sun and what direction you're actually trying to move toward. And let each one inform you without overriding the others. Okay, so that's the sun, moon, and rising. Not as personality labels or fixed boxes, but it's 3 different questions your chart is answering about how you move through life. So your sun, where you're going, your moon, how do you regulate, your rising, how do you enter. All 3 are shaped by the season you were born into. All 3 are survival strategies. All 3 are real. And once you understand them, once you stop trying to be one simple thing and start working with all 3 layers at once, I think everything gets easier because you're not fighting yourself anymore. You're not confused about why you do contradictory things. You're just letting your system do what it was built to do. That's the work. That's what astrology is for. Not to tell you who you are, but to give you language for the complexity you already are. All right. I think that's it. Go look up your big 3 if you haven't already and start noticing how they show up in your actual life. I'll see you next time.